Rich, are you there? Good evening, everybody, and a very, very warm welcome. Nice to see everybody dialing in early. It's an absolute pleasure to see all of you, as always. Thank you so much for joining us. Please pop in the chat box where you're coming in from. We would love to know. We'll be starting in a few moments, so please, please, please just take some time just to drop in your hellos from wherever you are in the world.
Can you allow my video? There I am. Okay.
Hello, Rich.
Hi, how are you doing?
Very well, Ben. How are you?
Wonderful. So excited to be here this evening.
Oh, so lovely to see you. So lovely to see you. And there's so many people coming in. We've got about 17 or 18 people joining us. Welcome, everybody. And it's just such a thrill and a joy to be back with you again on this positive emotional transition webinar part 2. I know there's been a huge amount of preparation and focus on putting this together on your behalf. So tonight and today, or wherever you are in the world, I hope you've got pen and paper at hand, because we've got some wonderful knowledge and content to share with you. So please just put your name in the chat and where you're coming in from. And again, there will be an opportunity on this particular webinar to send in some questions. Please use the Q&A box. I do know that my colleague, our colleague, Carol, is often on hand just to handle various things. So more and more participants coming in. So it's great to see everybody here. Please don't hesitate to connect with us on any level after the webinar as well. We're here to answer any questions that may be of relevance to you. Please make yourselves feel comfortable, and a very, very warm welcome. We've got Spain coming in. We've got India. We've got Oman, hello from Oman. We've got Spain, hola. We've got someone, obviously, Jade's coming in from London. We've got Afik from Bangladesh. Welcome, welcome. Wow, India, 11:30 p.m. This is dedication. What a joy to stay up, and it's a great honor that you are coming in from that part of the world and staying awake to join us. And hello from Nigeria, Anne. Hello, Anne. I know Anne well. Hello, Anne. Lovely to see you. And Carol's just come in, just popped a chat in the chat box there. Namaste, namaste from Oman. Assalamu alaikum from anyone from the Arabic part of the world. Hello from Glasgow. Must be freezing up in Glasgow right now. 12:40 a.m. We've got someone coming in from wherever you are, Atif, Ashab, wherever you are in the world. It's obviously very late. So thank you so much for joining us. What an absolute pleasure. What an absolute pleasure. Rich, I think we can start. I think the time now has just come past 5 past. So should we get going?
Yes, let's get going. Fantastic.
I'm just going to stop sharing. I'm going to put you on the big screen here, Rich. I love the painting. Sure, beautiful energy, ready to rock and roll. Yeah,
my wife's painting.
What a joy! What an absolute joy! So let's get everyone ready to rock and roll. Just seeing that everyone's ready to go. And again, please feel free to pop questions in the Q&A. And again, I know the chat box is available. So without sort of further ado, for everyone joining us on this particular webinar, for those of you who don't know, my name is Philip Sykes, and I am the principal and the founder of the British School of Etiquette here in the United Kingdom. And in this webinar, which is part 2 of our Positive Emotional Transition series, I will be interviewing my dear friend and work and business colleague and business partner, Richard Cullinan, who's a leading educator in this industry. He is an author. He specializes in emotional intelligence, and he heads up our EQ faculty here at the British School of Etiquette. Rich, I think, in part 1, we discussed how you can really use your self-awareness and self-management skills to really transition from a very negative to a very positive emotional state every single day. Now, this evening, we're going to share some phenomenal key insights about how you can really use your social awareness and relationship management skills to do exactly the same. So, Rich, I prepared a few questions for you this evening, and my first question really goes along the following lines. I would love you to help us understand what is social awareness?
Okay. Of course, it's a loaded question, and it's a big subject, because social awareness is one of 4 modalities that make up emotional intelligence. So, like self-awareness is a foundational personal competence skill, social awareness is a foundational social competence skill. Now, while self-awareness is about looking inward, social awareness is about looking outward using your self-awareness. Social awareness is your ability to understand people in a social or business setting and respond in a socially integrated and perceptive way. To be socially effective, we need to be fully present in the moment to correctly assess the emotions and motivations of other people when we're having a discussion, making a decision, preparing a presentation, or chairing a meeting. Now, what people think of us is a key determinant of how effective we are in this highly connected and constantly communicating world. How we present ourselves and our ideas and respond to social clues and cues is a calling card for our own success. To be socially aware, we need to quieten down the chatter in our own minds. Stop talking and start listening for and observing other people's thoughts and emotions so that we can shape outcomes through our own positive interpersonal influence, which includes helping others to manage their own emotions. The key to being socially perceptive and effective is being sensitive to the thoughts and feelings of other people by occasionally compromising, tempering our strong opinions, and giving others permission to challenge our ideas. Complimenting and showing appreciation for what other people say and do with the sole intent to comprehend rather than always seeking to be right or remaining solely task-focused, will unlock opportunities and build lasting relationships. Understanding what people are telling you by reading their body language, their tone of voice, the words they use to express themselves, and the social dynamics at play should give you more than enough information to become interpersonally effective. Being approachable and seeking first to understand and then to be understood is the hallmark of a successful communicator and leader, a person who employs empathy to engage with others and persuade them if the situation requires it. Developing a sincere interest in understanding how people tick offers one valuable insights based on what they are saying or doing and gives you the right context for your own emotional expression and intelligent contribution to life at home and at work. Your five senses process and evaluate information, which in turn create our own feelings. These feelings are like your social antennae. For example, is the room that you enter into full of happy and vibrant people? Or is it stern, businesslike, and serious? Is this person I'm talking to anxious or stressed out? Or is this person trying to hide something? Deep down, everyone wants to be heard. Yet sometimes we get so caught up in our own thoughts and feelings, like thinking about what to say next, rather than listening to what the person is saying or not saying, that we miss the whole purpose of the interaction, which is to understand the other person before offering our own opinions.
Sure, amazing. And I love the fact that you really hopped on a lot about listening. And for me, it's something that we advocate, as you know, Rich, throughout all of the EQ programs. It's something we advocate here at the British School of Etiquette. Fundamentally, you want to engage with people, you want to respect people, you want to get a connection with people. We need to listen to understand rather than listen to respond. That's number one. Absolutely. I love that came out there. And I think we've got a little tool, as you know, which is SLP: speak, listen, pause, then engage. And I think this is such a key fundamental aspect. A lot of people don't understand why they don't connect with people. And when you slow down and you're very present in the moment and you really make an effort, you talked about all the senses, you talked about reading the body language, you really will make so much more of a dynamic connection with people. It'll help you exponentially. And with all due respect to all of you amazing people who've taken the time to join us, this is not rocket science. It really and truly isn't. It really and truly isn't. Rich, what I'd love to do is move on to question 2. And this really boils down to sort of what aspect of our social awareness should we really focus on to transition into a positive emotional state every day? Because I know a lot of people, we all do, we're human beings, we struggle with this. So what are the tools? And give us an understanding, please.
Okay. So social awareness is made up of a number of important elements that can help you to make a positive emotional transition. Because our time constraints this evening, I'm only going to focus on empathy. Empathy is the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes, and it's the foundational social awareness skill. Without it, you have little idea of what people think and feel and what they think about you, their work, or their life. Without empathy, there's little or no understanding of the social context within which you are communicating. Daniel Goleman explains, empathy comes from the Greek word empatheia, which means feeling into, a term used by theoreticians of aesthetics way back in the Greek times for the ability to perceive the subjective experience of another person. Feeling into is using all your 5 senses and your 6th sense, emotional intelligence, to read the thoughts, emotions, and actions of another person or persons. To be empathetic requires a caring mindset, a willingness to feel what others feel before acting on your own desires and impulses. It requires a mindset of compassion and intellectual sensitivity. The empathetic attitude has its roots in morality. For example, should I lie to keep from hurting a friend or colleague's feelings? Will they know if I change the terms of reference? Should I visit my grandmother this weekend as arranged, or should I go to a party with my friends? The roots of empathy can be traced back to early childhood, when the basic needs of emotional life are laid down in intimate moments between a mother and her infant. Repeated moments of attunement, the intimate mimicking and sharing of emotional messages between parent and child, shape the emotional expectations adults bring to their close relationships. When a child is neglected or a parent fails to show empathy for the child's basic needs, the child may stop expressing their own emotions and could even stop feeling those emotions. Now, psychotherapy works on the same principle as attunement. The psychologist reflects back to the client an understanding of his or her inner state, just as an attuned mother does with her infant. And this gives the client a sense that they are deeply acknowledged and understood. The brain is designed to respond to specific emotional expressions. So empathy is actually a given of biology. We are simply wired to read the emotions of others. Reading emotions engages the amygdala cortical pathway, which has a key role in determining our responses to people and situations. In 1976, Dr. Robert Levinson and John Gottman teamed up to complete a study of emotion and psychophysiological measurements in married couples using a video recall method that gave them an understanding of how married couples felt during conflict. Discussions that would typically induce a heated discussion between spouses were encouraged, including discussions around home finances, about the kids and schooling, or potential business venture. Levinson and Gottman videotaped the conversations and monitored couples' physiological responses, including heart rate, skin conductance, gross motor activity, and blood velocity. After the discussion between the couples, each partner was given an opportunity to watch the video alone and explain what he or she was feeling from moment to moment during the discussion with their partner. They then watched the video again, this time describing what their partner was feeling from moment to moment. The most accurate reading of their partner's feelings occurred in husbands and wives whose physiology tracked and matched that of their spouses. When one partner had an elevated sweat response, so did the other. And when one's heart rate slowed, so did the other. Couples that were not good at reading each other's feelings had the same physiological response for both the first and second exercise because they could not feel what their spouse was feeling during their discussion. This type of emotional withdrawal indicates an absence of positive effect during conflict, like shared humor, like affection, empathy, key. Gave Gottman and Levinson the evidence they needed to predict that such couples would later divorce. Later studies revealed that 1 out of 2 of these couples that couldn't read each other would divorce within the first 7 years of marriage. Now, how uncomfortable you feel with someone is at some level physical. There needs to be compatible timing and a coordination of movement to feel comfortable. This synchrony reflects a level of engagement between people. Where there's a high engagement, moods begin to mesh. Where there is positive or negative, there has to be a high synchrony. Coordination of feelings and moods is the essence of rapport, the adult version of attunement a mother has with her infant. Now, social neuroscientist Dr. John Kakioka says one determinant of interpersonal effectiveness is how deftly people carry out this emotional synchrony. If they are adept at attuning to people's moods or can easily bring others under the sway of their own, then interactions go more smoothly at an emotional level. The mark of an effective leader or performer is being able to move an audience, team, or family in this way. People who are poor at sending and receiving emotional messages are prone to problems in their relationships because people often feel uncomfortable with them. When it comes to interpersonal encounters, the person who tends to have the more forceful expressivity is typically the one whose emotions entrain the other. The definition of entrainment is to get on a locomotive train or to draw along. Emotional entrainment is the heart of influence and an important social skill which, if developed in a positive way, will lead to enhanced relationships, but if developed in a negative way, could lead to adverse outcomes and eventually social alienation. Understanding others in a social or business setting often requires thinking about it after the event. You may know how well you think you performed in your meetings or at a dinner party or a family event, but do you really know how well you did and how you could improve? Simply by asking a trusted friend or close relation how they thought you did will open up your mind to new ways of managing your emotions and understanding how you operate in different social situations. A good way to develop empathy is to observe other people and imagine how they are feeling and how you would respond if you were them in their situation. Most communication, sales, customer service, and negotiation skills hinge on our ability to read the client's emotional and rational needs before providing a solution, which means exercising empathy on purpose. Clients will often care more about how much you care about them than the solution to the problem you're trying to solve. In any role you play, the ability to read the mood and emotions of co-workers, family, or friends and respond with the right emotionality and reason requires empathy. Marriage, for example, can be a fruitful dance of mutual empathy, with each partner understanding and encourage the other every day. Or it can be a desperately lonely existence altogether, devoid of the synchrony that is so prevalent when there's genuine empathy. Choosing to work on and develop your empathy skills requires self-awareness and a consciousness about how important empathy is in enriching your social and business life. The ability to read and respond with sensitivity to others cannot be left to chance. We all need to build the social skill to be effective knowledge workers, leaders, husbands, wives, and importantly, as parents to our children.
Wow, there's a lot to take in there. Wonderful. Thank you for such a immense answer. I thought it was a fairly straight, simple subject area, but it's clearly not. And I know it's not, obviously, but gee, there was a lot to take on board there. I made a few little pointers there. I think one of the things that really jumped out at me from that was having a what can I do for you attitude. I think this is what life is about. If you really want to connect and engage with people, it really is something about having a what can I do for you attitude. And I love someone once shared with me, Philip, always give and never remember, always receive and never forget. So that for me, it is about this real unbelievable care for one another. And I think a lot of us in this day and age have really forgotten that. We've forgotten this amazing element of being empathetic in all situations, because what one person's feeling and what another person's feeling are completely two different emotions and feelings. We can't jump into each other's brains. We've got to learn to communicate and express our emotion and feeling. And as a result, that goes back to that listening. We've got to listen to what people are telling us. We don't want to just hear the noise. We want to listen, actively listen, and take on board what they are sharing with us so that we can hopefully respond in the correct way. I think this is where a lot of us sort of misconnect. And I'm talking from experience. I absolutely see that, and I think this is something that I've fortunately taken on board many years ago, and it's made some huge changes and development in my life. So thank you for such a great answer. And I know we could, as you said, Rich, we could really strip that one out, and you just touched on empathy in its sense. So for me, the next sort of question that I would love to ask you is, when it comes to relationships and relationship management, what actually is relationship management? I mean, how do we manage relationships, and what are some golden nuggets within what you would like to share with us, please?
Wonderful. Thanks, Phil. Well, relationship management involves using your self-awareness, emotional management, and social intelligence, which are the three other modalities that make up emotional intelligence, to build valuable and lasting relationships. Now, to build positive relationships, building positive relationships is a daily practice. We need to understand ourselves first. We need to understand our own thoughts and feelings and how they define us to work out what we need in life. We need to understand how our emotions impact our physical bodies and how this affects the way we respond to things. We need to develop positive affirmations, which give our lives impetus, meaning, and power, and counteract the poison of negative self-talk. Apart from understanding ourselves, to be effective in a relationship, we need to understand how the other person thinks and feels in order to fulfill their needs. We also need to practice self-management to ensure we keep our emotions in check whilst relating to the other person. For example, are we using our left and right brain hemispheres, for example, simultaneously in an agile and productive way to solve problems in our relationship? Are we sleeping properly, which reduces anxiety and irritation? Do we have a good attitude and adopt a growth mindset in our relationship to ensure we can take challenges together and overcome obstacles? Do we make an effort to improve ourselves and our circumstances and provide intelligent criticism or feedback that adds value and binds us together rather than breaks us apart? Are we eating the right foods and drinking the right fluids to help our brains to function at their best? Or are we abusing ourselves with the result that we don't perform at optimum levels in our relationship? Do we deal with stress, anger, and worry in a way that allows us to have a flourishing relationship, or don't we? Have we taken control of our negative self-talk, which I mentioned just now, and changed the way we talk to ourselves about ourselves and our partners to create an environment of positivity and promise? Are we managing our impulses well so that we can make choices based on our emotional and rational minds that feed into the goodness, morality, and well-being of our relationship? Are we making decisions that take into account what we feel and think? Are we confident and practice self-management on a daily basis, which has a direct impact on our relationship? To make our relationships work, we also need to practice social awareness. And as we've discovered, practicing empathy is key to developing and nurturing all our social interactions. The ability to understand and feel how other people feel and respond to us and what drives their own feelings and motivations is at the heart of relationship building. When we can synchronize our physical, mental, and emotional selves with others, we get to a level of relationship that is deeply fulfilling in business and at work, which adds value to our careers and, of course, our financial success. We can only organize teams or groups of people effectively if we develop our social intelligence. We can only make lasting personal connections if we work on it consciously and continuously. Indeed, our social performance and effectiveness is derived from the attention we give to our emotional intelligence and the integrity and authenticity which we bring to our relationships. When we open up to other people, they open up to us. When we make reading body language and tone of voice a standard for deriving knowledge about others and how we respond to them, we enrich our relationships. When we lean in and listen actively to someone or a group of people, we get to understand them on a far more valuable level than if we always focus on our own thoughts and feelings. When we practice social etiquette, which is so close to our hearts, April, and respect people's culture, religion, and historical backgrounds, we begin to truly practice emotional intelligence and have a far better chance of developing relationships with people. Now, an important secret to building connections and valuable relationships is to treat others how they want to be treated, not how we want to be treated. Our primary relationships, those we have with our closest friends, our partners, our family members, are a reflection of the kind of relationships we want to build in the world. With remote working and flexible hours becoming the new normal today, the blurring of the lines between home and work has become more obvious. To be authentic and true to oneself, the relationship we have with everyone in our lives count now more than ever.
Whoa, a lot of actually got quite a little bit emotional there, because I think we are now in such a different environment and world now where we are under a huge amount of pressure. And, you know, this is the power and importance of developing one's emotional intelligence. And I know how it works, and I know how there's a case in point in everyone's life where you feel under that pressure. And now it's really relevant to understand how to dig deep and really dig into our emotions and really understand what's triggering me. What do you think the other person's going through? It's about respecting one another and really make the effort to get time with one another and understand what's going on. And, you know, you mentioned something, Rich, which everyone I know knows the term, the golden rule or the golden key: do unto others as you wish them to do unto you. Now, whether you read the Bible, the Quran, any of the religious books will share that beautiful sort of phrase, sentence with you. And you alluded to something fundamental there. We call it the platinum rule: is treat other people the way they would like to be treated, then go back to being you. Because when we get to know people, we can give them so much more. We can do so much more for them, because not everyone necessarily wants to be treated like I like to be treated, or you like to be treated. So it's taking it yourself, you know, out of your head and really understanding the people that you're connecting with. That'll make such a positive, powerful connection, impact, and build an amazing relationship. It really is. And thank you for sharing that. Wow, lots we could continue talking about there. Now, something that's really I love sharing and asking on this particular field here. When it comes to your relationship management, should we focus on more the transitional side into a positive emotional state, or where do we lean on in this particular area? Should we really, is it transitional? Is it transactional? Give us an understanding on this particular area, please.
Yeah, great, Phil. Well, you know, again, relationship management is a really big subject. So this evening, I've decided that I'd like to focus on trust, which is a critical aspect of relationship management. And I'm going to frame it in a way that is beneficial for someone who's in a leadership position or aspires to be in a leadership position. In times gone by, a man or a woman's word was their bond. A deal was made on a handshake. Reputations were built and earned on your word. Even though detailed contracts and signed agreements have changed this somewhat, human nature and long memories ensure that the integrity and trust is earned by the value of your word and actions. In fact, in today's uncertain times, this evergreen truth has never been more important, particularly when you're placed in a position of leadership and trust. Now, trust is the real currency of effective leadership. And those that do not value this currency find themselves in the neverland of unfulfilled promises, which are reflected by their team's subpar performance and their company's subpar financial performance and achievements. Just like your reputation, it takes time to build trust, but it can be lost in seconds. To get to the heart of what trust means as a leader and for a team, Phil, would you kindly share the slide which describes the trust equation? So as you can see, the equation is trust equals intimacy plus credibility over risk. Now, when there is appropriate intimacy and it's present in a team, the team members know each other really well and respect and admire one another as diverse skills and attributes. They have frequent contact with one another, whether it is remotely or through collaborative activities in the workplace. They feel comfortable sharing their ideas with one another and don't need to own their ideas, but rather contribute to the work they are doing together openly. They've developed a sense of openness with one another, which helps them to navigate the tough times and celebrate the good times together. Each member of the team understands that their intentions, which are reflected in the words that they speak and the actions that they take, are aligned to their authentic truth and don't try to muddy the waters with deceit or manipulation. Now, the credibility of a team depends on the credibility of their leader and of themselves. Integrity is borne out by the promises they keep with one another and make to their clients, whether they're internal or external clients. They share a vision for the team, which is crystal clear, and they believe in one another's ability, skills, and motivation to get the job done in the best of their ability. There is good discipline, and when a decision is made, everyone on the team pulls together to follow through with that decision. Team members keep their eye on the ball and remain focused on achieving their goals. Feedback is constructive and valuable, and the team members seek out honest criticism and recognition for their efforts. When these two things, intimacy and credibility, I beg your pardon, are lacking on a team, and the leader does not invest in them, the negative risks increase. The partnership between the leader and his or her co-workers breaks down, and the benefits of being part of the team begin to dissipate. Goals are neither understood properly or they're ignored. The integrity of the leader and therefore the reputation of the leader slips away, and his or her co-workers retreat into silos of individual striving or frustration. Now, in a new relationship, there needs to be a certain level of trust to begin with. By putting a little bit of yourself on the line, you invite the other person to do so as well. Like anything of real value, we build trust a little bit at a time. A good leader will identify the relationships with people on his or her team that need more trust, and will find out what is missing by having open and frank discussions with them to bridge the gap. Being consistent and reliable is the best way to build trust with your people. And I would say also in your home environment and all your personal relationships. When there are low levels of trust, the leader feels that there is a need to control their co-workers and make unilateral decisions. This in turn makes their co-workers feel impotent and alienated, and can result in an us versus them scenario and mindset, which if left unchecked becomes the lasting paradigm for the team. When there are high levels of trust, the leader feels like they can delegate more effectively, and rather than making unilateral decisions, they seek out the counsel of their co-workers and make decisions which benefit the company and the team. Instead of feeling alienated, the leader's co-workers feel a sense of involvement and being part of the team, because it is a wonderful, exciting experience to be on the team. Now, if you want to be a great leader, or you are potentially lined up for a leadership position in your company or organization, take heed, please, of the value of trust and make this your abiding currency. It will not only make things easier for you, but it will produce an environment which is dynamic and collaborative. An environment you will want to invest in, nurture, and grow. Now, finally, Phil, and you did mention it in your introduction there on this question, we tend to see our lives as transactional. We think that in order to get something, we have to give something in return. When we replace our transactional mindset with a mindset based on developing relationships, the opportunities for valuable exchange between people increases exponentially, because we are not defined by the narrow result determined by a finite transaction. In my life, two of the greatest benefits I've enjoyed from improving my emotional intelligence have been: one, far more meaningful and enjoyable close relationships with people that mean something to me, and two, achieving my goals and fulfilling my purpose in life. Now, this can be the same for you, my friends, if you are prepared to invest the time and energy you need to make it happen. As the British School of Etiquette, a good start we would recommend is to invest in one of our EQ programs at the British School of Etiquette. And if you don't mind giving me a few moments, I'd like to take you through two of the programs that we have in the EQ faculty, which will make a major difference to your emotional intelligence and certainly to the relationships that you have with people around you. We have a short course called About Me. The next program is running on the 25th of February this month. It is a short 3-hour session, but jam-packed with amazing information about what sort of personality you are, what your dominant intelligence is, and what your preferred love language is. The end result is you will be able to build a power profile of yourself, which is absolutely illuminating and will help you to choose tasks or a career that really suit your strengths. So I recommend that you take this entry-level course that we have in our EQ faculty. And I look forward to seeing you there on the 25th if you join me. Right, and then we have our Leading with Emotional Intelligence program, which is our main EQ program at the British School of Etiquette. It's split into the standard version and the premium version. The standard version is a 5-week course starting on the 22nd of March, and it includes 5 2.5-hour mediated sessions with myself over a period of 5 weeks. You will receive 5 booklets of knowledge with 24 life-enhancing and life-changing exercises. So on this particular program, we cover 5 modules. It's the Introduction to Emotional Intelligence, Self-Awareness, which we discussed in part 1 of the webinar, Self-Management, which we also discussed in part 1 of this webinar series, Social Awareness and Relationship Management, which I was able to briefly cover in a small way this evening. So this is basically our core program, but if you would like to take the premium version because you want to improve your leadership capabilities and learn how to use your emotional intelligence in a leadership space, this one is for you. So it includes the 5 modules that we have in our standard program and 2 additional modules where you will discover how to lead a diverse team, as well as how to lead your team to greatness. So it includes 7 2.5-hour mediated sessions over 7 weeks. The reason I split it over 5 and 7 weeks, both programs, is because it gives you a chance to do your reading before you attend the workshop, do your exercises before you attend the workshop. Then the online session is highly interactive, where I encourage different viewpoints and I encourage multi-frame thinking. The following week, you practice the skills you learned for that module, and then we continue the program. So it gives you an opportunity to learn as you go, and truly to make the learning stick in your mind and in your life. So those are the programs that we have on offer. And now I'm sure, Phil, I'm very keen to answer some questions. If anybody has any questions for me or for Philip, please ask away.
Yeah, please, everyone. This is an open opportunity for you to connect and engage with us. As we always say, we are very generous with our time. We understand the importance of people being able to connect on all levels. So if you feel like having a conversation with either of us, just send an email to hello@the-British School of Etiquette, talk to our colleague Orsa, book a time in with us. It really will be an absolute pleasure to connect and engage with you. As always, we are here at your disposal. We genuinely are. Dubrovna, hello, and hello from Spain. Dubrovna, lovely to see you. Or unfortunately, we can't see you, but we know you're there. Dubrovna's question is how to build trust if you start a collaboration remotely and meet only via Zoom. So that's a fantastic question.
Yeah, it's a great question. I would suggest a similar thing to what I alluded to, Phil, in my presentation. And that is to put a little bit of yourself on the line before you start working together. We often talk about making a good first impression at the British School of Etiquette. Well, when somebody meets you for the first time, whether it is face-to-face or on Zoom, because believe me, on Zoom, you can read body language, you can read facial expression, and you can read tone of voice. So when you meet somebody for the first time, they are asking 2 questions about you. They're saying, can I trust this person? And will I value their capabilities? Now, what's far more important is trust, because without trust, then there is no interest really in your capabilities. Now, when you're working with somebody, it is about capability. So my recommendation, Debrochna, is to put a bit of yourself on the line, develop trust, have a bit of small talk, get to know the person a little bit before you get tucked into the important work that you're undertaking together.
Great answer, Rich. And Debrochna, you're an incredible supporter of our organization. You've stepped into many of our programs, one of them being our flagship program, Train the Trainer. And I know you are successfully running your own educational element of etiquette yourself. So you're doing an amazing job out there. And I love this question because it is about that putting yourself on the line, that generating that small talk. So many people out there don't understand the value of connecting with people in small talk, and something we really reiterate when you ask someone a question. This goes back to exactly what Richard's first opening explanation was to the first question of this evening, is you need to listen. So if you connect on small talk, you better be prepared to listen to the answer. So this is where you listen to understand, and then you can reconnect on that particular answer they've given you. We talk about some of the key words out there, the whys, the whens, the whos, the whys, the hows, these are key words that you utilize when you are connecting with people. It's not about you at the end of the day. It's about the person you're connecting with. And don't forget, people love to talk about themselves. That's number one that I would love to give input on. Number two is, just like we would connect in person, you'd be looking for body language areas of engagement. Are they focused? Are they engaging with you? Do they lean in when they are making contact with you? Are they distracted easily? Do they sort of gaze out the window when they engage? Are they on their phone while they're engaging with you? And as you know, with Zoom, you're in the spotlight, boy. You are absolutely in the spotlight. So you better have your wits about you. You've got to have your A game. And again, things such as punctuality, all these little tools and tips and key elements are going to help you build that connection, trust, and bond with somebody. So yeah, fantastic question. I have another question coming through here. How do you identify and lead and build trust if you have to work with a narcissist within your team? Did you get that, Richie? Rich, did you hear me?
Yeah.
How do you?
I did. My internet's just gone a little bit unstable. I'm sure it will come back.
So how do you lead and build trust if you have to work with a narcissist within your team? Are you there? You there, Rich? Can you hear me?
Yes, I am here. I can see you, and I can hear. All right, Phil? Yes, I can.
Yeah. So did you get the question that I just shared with you?
No, if you could just repeat it for me,
yes,
please.
Certainly. Okay, so how do you identify and lead and build trust if you have to work with a narcissist within your team?
Oh, sure. Okay. Well, a narcissist is like a well-behaved psychopath, right? So it's a very difficult question. And in fact, I was in a coaching session last night where this gentleman who I'm coaching on emotional intelligence asked me whether if there was anything he could really do with a malevolent member of his staff. Now, malevolence is, this guy is really not pleasant to be around. He's very unlikable, and he has a very negative attitude. Now, narcissists come across as really charming, and that's why we get taken in by narcissists. But they will not express any weakness. So they're not prepared to share vulnerabilities, because that is the state of a narcissist. It's a psychological condition. Okay. So they're not prepared to share their emotional vulnerabilities, which is a major problem because we're all human and we need to share our emotional vulnerabilities to connect with one another and to have a relationship with one another. So my advice to this friend last night about this malevolent staff member was to actually get rid of the staff member, okay? Because life's too short and business is too important to have a bad apple amongst us. If you have to work with a narcissist and they're your boss, I would suggest you find another job. I would stay far away from narcissists. They're dangerous people. They are hugely egotistical and they have very little empathy. In fact, they basically have no empathy. They don't care about you. They don't care how you feel. They're not that interested in what you think unless it's going to elevate their position. So forgive me for being blunt, but if I had a narcissist in my organization, I would walk them out the door.
Yeah, it's you're very blunt. And again, it's something that I absolutely vindicate. If there are negative people in your life, you've got to get rid of them. If there are people that are influencing you on a negative platform or, have a way to get through to you and really push buttons, it's about having to learn to remove yourself. And again, create a very dynamic circle of influence and just remove yourself from this. And it's a brilliant question. I wish I knew it came from, because it's something that I know would take an incredible amount of time and energy to really complete that question in its entirety. But I have to agree with you there, Rich. The next question that's come through, and this is a great question. When and how do you really understand that you have connected emotionally with any person? When and how? I love this question.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mentioned in my presentation that on some level, communication is physical. And when there is physical synchrony between two people that are communicating, what will happen is one person might tilt their head slightly while they're talking, and the other person tilts their head slightly as well. The one person crosses their leg over, and the other person crosses their leg over. And so you have this like emotional and physical synchrony developing between two people. When you can see your physical movements mirrored by the person you're communicating with, then you know that you're starting to connect on a really deep level, on a really good level. If, on the other hand, there isn't that physical synchrony, and perhaps the person closes their arms like this, even if they smile, that there's something wrong. There's something they've misunderstood, or they're not that really interested in what you're saying. The interesting thing about smiling, Phil, if I may just share this, is when we smile genuinely, we get the crow's feet under the eyes. Okay, that wrinkling under the eyes when we smile genuinely. When people don't smile genuinely, there is no crow's feet. So if it's not a synchronous engagement, there will be no crow's feet. If it's synchronous and they smile, there'll be crow's feet, they'll be copying your movements, and there'll be this wonderful emotional, physical synchrony between the two of you.
I love that, and it is. You must smile with your eyes. That's definitely something we advocate. The power of first impressions and meeting people. Smile with teeth, a genuine smile, and absolutely, you want your eyes to be like little diamonds in the snow. Bing! You need them to be shining. Something that I'd love to elaborate in this particular area. How do you know when you're connecting people on an emotional level? I think for me, it's very much about when people really take on board what you're sharing with them, when they make an effort to absorb what you are sharing with them, and they connect with you by giving you some form of verbiage, their sort of replies to some of your questions and that sort of thing, and they genuinely are making an effort to sort of understand you. And again, I think body language is again one of the, ladies and gentlemen, 75 to 80% of our communication is non-verbal. So the body language clues will also help you immensely understand that you're connecting. Just as Richard was saying, it's this mirror imaging kicks in, someone lending an ear, someone leaning in. Those are all the areas and sort of signals and signs to look out for. And it's much deeper than that, but just scratching the surface, you will know that you're really starting to build a rapport and a connection with somebody. Absolutely. Any further questions from anybody? I know we've obviously got a lot of people out on watching us through YouTube and possibly Facebook. Now, the next one is how do I connect emotionally with people over text or messages?
You answer that, Phil.
I'd love to answer that.
You're very good at it. You're very good at it.
I love it. Medical MD at TEF. There we go. I love it. Shukran. Thank you. So for me, text messages. So if you all think about digital communication as in text messages, instant messaging, emails, there's no emotion in it. There's no emotion whatsoever. That's why, thank goodness, someone created emojis, because I think if emojis weren't created, there'd be a lot of misunderstanding out there. And something that I've written down here, what you say is not always understood. What you say is not always correctly understood. So no matter how the other person receives it, that's up to you. So for me, I think one of the most powerful tools that we have is the ability to pick up the telephone and actually talk to somebody. Going backwards and forwards in instant messaging, it's tedious, it's tiresome. I personally don't believe you build a rapport and a connection. All the funnies and the little bits of humor that kick in and that sort of thing. And yes, you can share with someone how you're feeling, absolutely. But isn't it more wonderful to hear those beautiful words from someone's mouth? Because again, your tonality makes a huge impact in the messaging and in the communication. It really and truly does. So just to really reiterate, text messages and those sort of things don't have the emotion and the voice and the tonality. They really and truly don't. If you do use emojis, obviously use them wisely. Don't over emoji people. No one wants to be over emoji on any level. I think take it a step further. Obviously with modern technology, we can leave little voice messages through our WhatsApps and WeChats and Line and Telegram. So again, use that medium if you're not on a screen with somebody and you're sending messages backwards and forwards. Maybe that's a far more dynamic way to connect emotionally. I really do. I think the power of the words, that actually when you stop and think for a little bit, and really think about what you want to say, slow down, be very, very present, it'll help you hugely in connecting emotionally.
Yeah, it's a great answer, Phil. I just want to add in there quickly, my definition of tone of voice is the message behind the voice. And in your tone of voice, you will express one of the 5 core emotions. You'll express whether you're happy, sad, angry, afraid, or ashamed. It's going to come through, or any derivative of those 5 core emotions, it's going to come through your tone of voice. Whereas the written word, even though there's slight tonality, it doesn't have the power of the tone of voice that you could leave when you leave a voice message. So,
absolutely, and in actually a majority of our programs, we talk about the 5 P's, our voice. What our voice is. It's an instrument, and when you practice the use of your voice in the correct way, it actually builds your confidence exponentially. It really and truly does. It's phenomenal. Any further questions? Please, audience. It's such a great opportunity to connect with everyone, and any further questions at this point in time? Doesn't seem to be any further questions. No one coming through. We'll give it a minute or two. Rich, something I actually wanted to discuss with you and ask you, you talk about someone actually feeling something before they express it. This is the power of emotion, right? It is so important, huh? It is so important.
Yeah, it's a truth that when you experience something, it could be a word, it could be a thought, but mostly through your 5 senses, it enters into your brain, and you have a response in your body before you express the emotion. So if you become conscious of that process, i.e., let's say it's a thought rather than something you process through your 5 senses. Let's say it's a thought that you have. A thought triggers a feeling in your body, and then there's an expression of emotion which has words attached to it. Now, what we need to do is use our prefrontal cortex, that before we express that emotion in words, we exercise choice. And that, to a large degree, is how we can employ our intelligence to stop us from reacting rather than responding effectively.
Super, love it. A few more questions, Monica. Hola, lovely to see you, Monica. Great to have you on the call. Rich, here's a long one. So how could you manage a relation in which no matter what you do or how hard you try, you just don't connect with the other person? And also, why is it that with some people you feel connected instantly and you feel confident, and with others you just can't, and your confidence just vanishes?
You know, I think to a large degree it boils down to personalities. You know, we were speaking about it this afternoon, from how, if you look at the Myers-Briggs model, if you look at the DISC model, you look at the model that I tend to use, which is the Herman Brain Dominance Instrument, you have 4 core types of personalities. In my instance, I describe them as analyzers, explorers, sensors, and organizers. And then you can have 16 derivatives of those personalities. Now, the truth is, some people just don't get on with other personalities. My personality just doesn't click with your personality. And Dr. John Gottman, who I actually spoke about with Dr. Levinson earlier on about that research done with married couples, he says in his research that sometimes personalities just simply don't connect. And that is very often the cause of relationships breaking up. So that's the sort of short answer. If it's a very important person in your life and they're, let's say, part of your family, I personally would invest the time to really try to understand them and what makes them tick, and adjust my behavior so that we can have better relationship. So, you know, there's always a way to get on with somebody. But when it comes to personalities, sometimes you're just not going to get on with people. And sometimes you, as you know, sometimes you're just going to click because you've got similar interests, you've got similar ways of expressing yourselves, you've got similar beliefs. And, you know, so these are all the elements that are affect the way you either connect or don't connect with somebody.
Monica, it's a big question with a huge, there's a far more in-depth answer to that, but I hope that it was helpful. Monica, you know where I am. If you ever want to connect with me or Richard, just make contact, because yeah, we are here to guide and steer you to the best of our ability, and to also share with you our experiences, because these are areas that we've absolutely come into contact with, not just once, I would imagine, many times. And, you know, again, both Richard and I spent an immense amount of time studying various authors and various scenarios. So what a great question. But it is about personality traits and understanding one another's personality traits and getting to know them. And when you really get to understand what makes someone else tick, Richard mentioned earlier, are you using your left side of your brain, your right side of the brain? What are the things that are triggering these particular scenarios and situations? And it's a very, very deep subject. So great question.
Yeah. And just finally, Phil, if I can add something there, also, you know, to practice acceptance. And just accept the fact that, you know, some people are not like you, some people are different. And when we accept that as a matter of fact, there's far much more empathy. And when we engage with, when we start using a growth mindset and we start looking to learn as opposed to judging and criticizing, we then become curious about different types of people. How do they think? How do they feel? Why do they do certain things? So when you replace judgment and criticism with curiosity, and you look to learn, and you employ acceptance, I think that would be a nice way of improving the opportunity of connecting with that person.
That's fantastic. Good, great answer. Now, here's one for us, Rich. This is from Melvin. Melvin, thank you for this. So may I request the two of you do a role play, a meeting under the following scenario. Okay, so you've an opportunity to meet your client for the first time for just a few minutes while changing flights at an airport. Your future communication only continues through video calls. How would you use the opportunity to build trust? Or how would you use that opportunity to build trust?
Are we doing it at the airport on a Zoom call after the airport?
We've met briefly, we've greeted one another. Then the rest of the sort of connection, the rest of the rapport building takes place with Zoom or FaceTime or something along those lines.
Yeah, and he wants us to role play.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would say to you, so Phil, how was your flight?
Fantastic. Actually, yeah, just rushing through the airport right now. It's wonderful to actually make acquaintance with you and finally put a name and a face together.
Yeah. So did you have a good flight? Because I had a terrible flight. My airplane hit turbulence and it was dreadful. In fact, I was shattered after it.
Oh, I know the feeling. Listen, I've got to rush, but could we make contact on Zoom next week?
I thought we were on Zoom, Phil.
Say again. Sorry.
I thought we were on Zoom.
No, we're not on Zoom. We've met in the airport. Okay. No, we met. Sorry. Okay, my apologies. Okay, we're on Zoom. Oh, yes. Sorry. Okay, we're on Zoom. Sorry. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, that flight for me was pretty hair-raising too. Rich, tell me, where were you heading, if I may ask?
Where am I heading?
Where were you heading?
Straight home to have a shower, and then I'm off to the office.
Great. And tell me, how was your trip away? Was it a successful one?
Yeah, I would say it was successful. But let's not all talk about me, Phil. What are you up to today as well? And where do you see the value in our relationship going from a business point of view?
That's a very, I'm doing really well, firstly, and I love the fact that the product that you are offering us is an outstanding product. When it comes to sort of spending a bit more time together and building this relationship, I think what would be wonderful to do is, have a few calls, connect when you've got a little bit more time. I've got a few emails I'd like to send through to you with some questions, if I may. And again, I just would love to spend some time getting to know you a little bit better so that we can build this trust and this relationship, because I'm really keen to do some business with you.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks so much for the role play, Phil. I hope that the gentleman enjoyed it.
Look, Melvin, it's a tough
we got it wrong a little bit.
Melvin, I want to break this down for you. One of the most important things is use small talk. Get to understand what the person's interests are. Don't talk about the business scenario. Just get to understand who they are. Don't ask anything personal. Keep the conversation very clean and to the point. Do not bring anything negative into a conversation. Don't talk about what's been going on in the world right now. Do not talk politics. Do not talk religion. Do not talk money. Talk about lovely, light sort of things. Obviously, the weather's a great opener. But again, with your small talk, you've really, really got to make an effort to respond and listen to what they are sharing with you. So key number one is, if you ask a question, keep it light, keep it about the other person as well. What's in it for them? It's always about the other person. Remember, when you do connect with people love to talk about themselves. They really do, and you need to be connected. One thing that I love sharing with everybody is, during the conversation, try and find out what people are passionate about. Because the moment they share with you what they're passionate about, boom, their body language starts to change. They become a completely different individual in person. If they happen to have a passion that you connect with, so it could be football, it could be skiing, it could be rock climbing, or whatever it might be, there's such a great opportunity to then start to talk about common ground that you can both trigger on. I mean, this is something we do and we focus heavily on in our Polished Professional. We focus heavily on this in our social and business etiquette programs. So, again, I hope that's useful and helpful. And again, get out of your head. You've got everything to gain and nothing to lose.
Yeah, great.
So, yeah. All right. So here we go. This is, again, I wish I knew who our anonymous attendee was, because it'd be lovely to get to know them. After a number of negative life experiences, I sometimes struggle to make personal connections with trust. I have to even force eye contact at times. Can I fake it till I make it? Please excuse the crude expressions. No, by no stretch of imagination, if crude expression, I would turn that around to act until you become. So yes, fake it until you make it, act until you become. So Rich, I'd love you to, if you wouldn't mind answering that particular question, then I'd love to take on from there.
Yeah. So if you've had a number of negative experiences in your life and it's affecting the way you're communicating with others, it means you haven't really dealt with those negative experiences. And it's impacting, if I may be so bold to suggest, it's impacting your sense of self-worth. And unless you're prepared to go back to those experiences, unpack them for yourself, understand what the story from that experience is telling you about yourself in the hippocampus, which sits in the limbic brain, unless you understand what that negative story is, and you fully unpack that experience, and then change that story into a positive affirmation, and repeat that affirmation to yourself over and over and over again, up to 63 days, that negative experience will continue to dictate the emotional responses that you have with people, which are seen through your body language. So it is a difficult road. And, you know, people that come on my emotional intelligence program, they learn pretty quickly, pretty early on the course, that you've got to be in it to win it. You have to be prepared to invest time and energy and practice to become emotionally intelligent and more confident in you communicate with other people, because we have these things in our past which are dictating our present, and the only way to fix it is to go back there, rewrite the story in your brain, and live a new life.
Yeah, Rich, it gives me goosebumps when you share that, because again, for any of you out there who really are very serious about taking a very dynamic step in the correct direction, you can speak to any of our past students. We've got so many students who want to share their journey and their story. So if you ever need to speak to any of the past students about their journey and experience with our organization, the door is always open. I just want to sort of share something here when it comes to this particular scenario, is that it is about unlocking the past, and it is about absolutely facing the future. But if you keep looking behind you, you're going to bang into a brick wall. You cannot keep looking in the rearview mirror. You've got to get up every day, as every day is a gift. That's why they call it the present. You've got to live the present, and you've got to put your trust in the future. You really and truly do. We've all had knocks and bumps and curveballs. Gee, I could bring you to tears with some of the curveballs I've had. Richard would bring you to tears with the curveballs he's had. There's no one in this world that's had plain sailing. In a million years, there's no one. Doesn't matter how much money you've got, doesn't matter what family you come from. Everyone's had the knocks, the bumps, the curveballs. But I truly do believe that life does not throw us anything that we cannot handle. That's number one, okay? Number two, surround yourself with very positive people. Get rid of the negative people in your life. Look up to people. You talked about fake it until you make it. Start absolutely hanging around people that are better than you, and emulate them. Get on board. It will help you exponentially. But I promise you right now, that's not just the only magic here. It's not the only medicine. You have to take on board learning. You have to take on board self-development. And this is exactly where I promise you right now, Richard, through the Leading with Emotional Intelligence program, will unlock some unbelievable big doors for you that will help you move forward with your life. That is for damn sure. I promise you that. So Melvin, I hope that's helpful. Melvin, thanks us very much for the role play. Lovely to get to know us and see us in action. And thanks for popping us on the spot there, Melvin. Sorry, I misunderstood the initial bit of the introduction. We would have, I think strike two would be a bit better with a second run on our dress rehearsal. So Melvin's asked one more question. He just wants to, please, Rich, just share the 4 personality types again, please.
Well, the one I know very well is the Herman Brain Dominance Instrument, or the whole brain thinking model, which was developed by Ned Herman when he was head of management learning at General Electric in the last century. And basically, you have 4 personality types. Those that mostly think with their left brain are the analyzer type of personality and the organizer type of personality. The analyzer tends to think more with their head, and the organizer is happy to employ emotions in getting what they want. On the right-hand side, you have the explorer personality, who thinks generally more with their head. They tend to be creative. And you have then the sensor personality, who thinks more with their heart. So those are the 4 personalities. If you come on my About Me program, you will discover which of those personalities is dominant in you. And it is normally primary dominant in one and secondary dominant in another.
Yeah, Rich, there's something here that I would love to just bring up on the screen, if I may. I mean, these are obviously the different personality types that we can look at as well. This is, and again, I'm not going to leave it on the screen for a long time, but this is again something else that Richard and we here at our organization use. You know, it's the various different personality traits. You're not one specific personality trait. You could be a combination. And when you start to understand what people's personality traits are, it can trigger you to get on that much better with them. And you know which buttons to push, you know how to engage, you know how to really build a fantastic rapport and relationship with people. So yeah, there are many ways to approach this, but it is so important that the most important thing really starts with you, understanding your own personality traits, you know, what you are really, what's your makeup. And when you do that, it gives you such an amazing foundation and confidence to connect with other people, because all of a sudden, you know, Richard mentioned something about antennae, you know, polishing your antennae, having something polished up there, being situationally and socially aware. This is what this is all about. It is fascinating and fundamental to really take yourself on that particular journey.
Yeah, I just want to add something in there, Phil. It's amazing when you discover the type of personality that you are. And as you said, develop a sensitivity for other people's personality types as well. Now, when you're in a leadership position, it's so important to understand the personalities on your team so that you delegate work to strength. Yeah.
Absolutely. One last question, then we're going to have to call it a night, everybody. You're very kind of staying online. We've gone 17 minutes over the hour. Having said that, is judging others related to connect with people emotionally? Because I find that people judge first more than anything. Anything in any communication. And I'd love to answer that, and then Rich, if you wouldn't mind taking over. Yes, I think we unfortunately as human beings, it's that part of the brain. It's the part of the brain we either want to box or we want to run. We want, you know, to protect. So it's the inner chimp inside us that really protects us. You know, this is how we as human beings sort of, you know, we're aware of what's going on around us. So when you put your best foot forward, in other words, you make an effort to look good, as in, you know, dress accordingly, dress appropriately to the role you're in or the environment you're going into, you're going to circumvent people judging you negatively. That's your first impressions, because we literally do judge people within 3 to 6 seconds. It's instant, whether we like it or not. Now, I want to get it out there. We shouldn't go around judging. We never know what the other person's going through. Put your feet in that person's shoes. It's a hard thing to do, because what we were sharing earlier on, your feeling is going to trigger a body language. So our facial expression can immediately trigger a judging look, for example, even though you're trying very, very hard not to judge. So you need to be very much in tune and in control and in touch with your emotions and feelings, and understand that whatever the brain is thinking, your body is going to react to it a lot quicker. Before it's seconds. But again, I think this is something very, very important. Again, this is a deep subject here, but it's fundamental that you really make an effort to present yourself accordingly. That's number one. And again, I think coming in with a beautiful smile, gorgeous eye contact. Obviously, the handshake is very much out of fashion right now for obvious reasons. I love the namaste. I love the hand on the heart, the very much the Arabic approach. So think about your body language and how you are connecting with people just in those first few seconds of connecting with someone. How would you expand on that, Rich?
Yeah, I'm just going to finish off with a quick sketch. Very often we want to be right, and when we want to be right about stuff, we tend to employ criticism and judgment. However, if we replace being right with being kind, everything changes. So you can change your mindset by stop judging, stop trying to be right, but just choose to be kind. And there you will start practicing empathy on purpose, and it'll open up opportunities with the people around you to have meaningful conversations and build meaningful relationships.
I've just had a great question come through. Can we watch part 1 of this? Yes, you can. It's on our YouTube channel. You know, ladies and gentlemen, there is huge value on our YouTube channel. We've got a lot of information and incredible content. So if you've got a few moments, you know, spend less time on your social media feeds and spend more time, you know, educating yourself, spend more time mind feeding yourselves rather than sitting in front of your screen. And, you know, give yourself, oh, it's difficult, I know, but many of us are glued to our gadgets and things like that. But seriously, if you want to move ahead in life, minimize your social media time and start focusing on giving yourself a mind feed daily, twice a day. This will help you exponentially move forward in your life. So, Rich, as always, it's just an absolute pleasure to engage with you and have you sharing your incredible knowledge and just really, you know, the one thing, ladies and gentlemen, is you will always get from our organization is 100% authenticity, kindness, care, thoughtfulness. And we always will be there for you, whatever it is. So when the door opens, when you walk in through the door at the British School of Etiquette, it remains very much open. So, you know, Rich, again, thank you very much. And thank you to all of you amazing people out there for supporting us, but also coming on and wanting to learn and grow. You know, we're just getting some beautiful messages. On behalf of the listeners today, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Philip Sykes and Mr. Richard Cullinan, for your valuable time, knowledge, experience, and your authentic, sure, I'm getting emotional, authentic communication with us. Positive and blessings. Namaste. Shukran, thank you so much. Thank you for the questions about part 1. Thank you all so much. It's been really a pleasure. Thank you. Thank all these beautiful thank yous are coming in. And ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We love what we do. We are genuinely blessed to do what we do. This is our calling in life. This is our why. This is why we jump out of bed every day with our motors revving in first gear, second gear, and straight into fifth gear. I have a joke with Rich. I say, we come on the thing, I say, I could take on Mike Tyson in a boxing ring without boxing gloves. I could knock him in one punch. And that is genuine. That is very, very genuine. We're very, very blessed. And we really want you to understand that you've got to put the first foot forward. No one can do it for you. You know, it really is so important. And you've just got to jump. But build the parachute on the way down. I promise you right now, it'll open.
Great. Thank you, Fred. Thanks so much for a wonderful
Thank you, my dear friends. Thank you. And thanks to all you amazing, amazing people. It really is always such a true pleasure.
Cool. Thank you.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.